on the dirt sheet front, the other big topic I wanted to talk to you about here today, Mr. Marceau, was Malakai Black. Maybe not done with AEW, but clearly on his way out. I mean, you could say this about any number of people. I feel like it's deja vu, Groundhog Day, whatever you want to call it, as far as the amount of people that we put, like, insert X name here, and it's the same discussion, as far as whether it be Miro or Ricky Starks or the Lucha Bros, Penta now being in WWE. Several other people that clearly seem checked out of AEW and want to see the grass is greener on the other side. Malakai Black might be the latest name to do that. Now, there's been a lot of rumors for a long time now about Malakai Black's status with AEW. He debuted 4 years ago in 2021, and about a year later when Triple H first took over WWE's creative direction, there was that report, not even a report, Tony Khan outright said, I think on Busted Open Radio or something like that, oh yeah, I've got guys like Malakai Black and Adam Cole signed until 2027. They signed 5-year deals, which I don't know why the fuck you would sign a 5-year deal in any company, honestly, just given the landscape. That just seems stupid to me. But either they granted him or will grant him an early release, or it wasn't exactly 5 years. It could have been 3.5 or 4. We have no idea. The latest report, I think that came out last night, I think from either Fightful or PW Insider, again, I forget the exact source, they had said that if he's supposed to be a free agent later in the year, he could be back, or he could be gone from AEW before then. But either way, do not expect him back on TV before he leaves, which is kind of why they didn't really write him out. His last match was a Full Gear and a World Tag Team title match and a Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match. Oh, what a way to write someone out. But they did kind of acknowledge it last week on Dynamite. Will Ospreay fought Buddy Matthews, and after the match, he had told Buddy, Will Ospreay did, oh, you don't really need the House of Black anymore. And then Adam Copeland, I'm not fucking calling him a Cope, that name sucks. Adam Copeland told Brody King, take the reins and run with it, like kind of saying you don't really need the House of Black either. So maybe they'll stick the House of Black together without Malakai Black, but it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to keep the House of Black if Malakai Black, whose last name they use for the group, isn't fucking there. That's kind of stupid. But a lot of talk going on right now about the former Aleister Black, Mr. Marceau, and his potential return to WWE. So break this down for me, and we'll talk about where they went wrong, both companies, really. But is this something you want to see, and are you confident that he might actually be out of AEW this time?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's had a lot of this throughout the last couple of years with AEW. There's like rumors that he's going to be leaving or writing him off, and then he's on Instagram or on social media like, nope, I'm still here, like I'm not leaving, blah blah blah. But I mean, it seems like this might be his last hurrah there. It doesn't seem like he'll probably be back on TV, and I mean, it is what it is. I guess at this point, if I was them, I would kind of move away from the House of Black stuff. I'd kind of put Buddy on his own and Brody. I mean, I guess you could put Julia maybe with one of them, but I think you can just disband the group at this point. There's no real point of having a House of Black if the Black's not there. So, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I think he probably will go back to WWE. I don't know how successful he'll be. I mean, his most successful part with the company was when he was in NXT with Triple H at the helm. So maybe that entices him to come back, and he knows that he was used well with Triple H, and most likely it would be happening again. But, I mean, all in all, I think it'd be nice for him to come back, but I don't think it's 100% necessary. I mean, they have a lot of guys now that they can focus on. I don't think they need to put all these other people on the back burner for an Aleister Black return, but I think for him, I think he'd feel comfortable coming back just because he was used so well under Triple H and NXT.
I mean, we'll talk about the Penta situation in a little bit, but he's a prime example of someone that was underutilized there in AEW towards the end. He came over to WWE and in one night felt like an absolute superstar. But who did that come at the expense of? Chad Gable, who is someone that we've talked about a lot. I've just kind of given up on the idea of them actually pushing him on his own. I know they gave him that series singles push for 2 months last year over the Intercontinental Championship. He never won it. They gave him a group, which is nice, but it's essentially the same thing as American Alpha, just as heels. And I like the Creeds, I like Ivy Nile, but I don't really see them getting beyond a certain level if they don't commit to pushing him in that role. My point is, the more people that you bring in from the other company, you don't want to bring in the entire AEW roster, because I see a lot of things from a lot of fans like, they're not doing anything with Adam Page, put him in WWE. Jay White made the mistake of going to, AEW over WWE last year, which I feel like he kind of had to, just because Vince was back in WWE at that point. There was no guarantee how he would be used in WWE. He's young enough to where he could always go there down the road. Will Ospreay, same thing. And you don't have to go to WWE, but I do feel like any of these guys, MJF included, Could do very well in the WWE system at some point down the road. But yeah, I totally think in the case of Malakai Black, he is someone that if you were to put him back in the WWE system right now, with Triple H in charge, I'm not saying he's guaranteed to be a world champion, but PW Torch was putting out there earlier today that there's a lot of influential people in the company currently that see him as a top singles act in that company. Would they actually push him in that direction? I can't say that they would. There's no guarantee of that. Andrade didn't come back and win a world championship, but at the same time, I see Alistair, Malakai, whatever you want to call him, as more of a singles world champion caliber performer over someone like an Andrade anyway. But I think he would have a chance, right? I mean, you mentioned that he would have a chance in WWE, but there's also an equal amount of chance, we have to acknowledge this, that they could bring him back or bring him back into the company, Alistair Black that is, and he could just get lost in the shuffle. I mean, there's a very realistic chance of that happening too.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's with anyone. I mean, depending on who it is, especially when it's like a returning face. I mean, with Andrade example, I mean, came back last year. I mean, he was on WrestleMania. He was kind of doing the whole LWO, Rey Mysterio, Dominic stuff. Kind of gone on SmackDown. He's had a lot of great matches. I just feel like they really haven't got his footing yet. I mean, I think looking back at it, he probably should have been the one to take the belt off LA Knight. I mean, Shinsuke, to me, at this point, hasn't really done too much to deserve that. But, I mean, with Andrade, I mean, he's had a lot of great matches. I mean, that's kind of, I mean, his character work's kind of the same as before. I guess that's what it is. He just feels like someone that's having really good matches, but they just really haven't pushed him to that next level. I'm not sure if there's something else on the line. So I guess the positive, he has good matches. So I think that can help in this fan affair, but they kind of have to work on his character a little bit more. And I think maybe that's where the disconnect is. But all in all, he still is having good matches every week. He just hasn't really won the big one yet, or something to hang his hat on.
Yeah, no, Andrade would have been absolutely the perfect person to be LA Knight for the United States Championship. I love the presentation of Nakamura, and I feel like that's kind of the biggest thing salvaging him right now because I mean, the in-ring stuff is fine. He has good matches. They had a good match on SmackDown. Nakamura and Andrade did a couple of weeks ago. But we've seen this before. We've seen him with the United States Championship. He's been not overexposed, but it's Nakamura. Like, he's been there for so long. If Aleister Black never left, I mean, he would have gotten fired anyway. It's not like he left on his own. He got fired, so he didn't really have a choice. But he probably would be in the same spot as Nakamura, as someone that we've seen be pushed before. And not even really that, because Aleister Black, at least Shinsuke, to his credit, he won a couple mid-card belts, tag team titles, Royal Rumble. Aleister, at least on the main roster, never won shit. He was around for maybe 2 years. I think he debuted early 2019 with Ricochet. They had a good thing going. They broke them up, which was fine because Aleister was more of a single star anyway. Then they were doing the whole fight me in that room thing when he was in the fucking room and he wanted someone to come fight him, and then it went nowhere for months before then Claudio Cesaro finally answered the call and they had a couple good matches. But again, nothing. I think the only time that it looked like Aleister might actually become something on the Raw roster was when Paul Heyman was in charge. And that was like for only a couple months. He was really officially in charge for a year, but it kind of only really felt like he had actual creative control for a couple of months there. And him and Buddy Matthews actually had a series of great matches and kind of felt like he was getting over. Then they pulled the rug right from underneath Aleister Black and they put the fucking eye patch on him, turned him heel. It was god-awful. Then he was off TV for months, fired his wife, the company did. They brought him back and then immediately fired him 2 weeks later. He came back and attacked Big E for a feud, I think over the Intercontinental Championship. And then within weeks of that happening and them turning him heel, he got fired by the company. It was just completely ridiculous. So I think he's a guy that could do well, I think, back in WWE. But before we go any further, do you want to mention this? Let's see. Daniel said in the chat, it was funny to see Pat McAfee damn near wet himself when Hogan came out, on orders, I'm sure, only to make fun of him on his show the next day. Yeah, that is kind of funny. Richie also said that 5-year deal better have been for a lot of moolah. Is that a Peacock sweatshirt? Yes, it is. I got this from Peacock a couple of years ago, and they moved to Peacock, so that's why I'm wearing it. Fernando said, put Zelina with Aleister Black. She's doing nothing with the LWO. I mean, I'm all in favor of trying something with Charlotte and Andrade. I don't know how much on-screen chemistry they would have, but I think Charlotte and Andrade would be interesting. Would you put Zelina Vega with Aleister Black? I mean, I think Zelina and the LWO is a good fit. They're not really doing shit with her on TV currently, but they just have a lot of women. But that is something I think I could see both of them pulling for just to try it out. You know, kind of put her in the Julia Hart role of what she had in the House of Black in AEW. Would you be in favor of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you change her character up a little bit, I think you could get there. I mean, I think she is someone that's done very well, kind of adapting to different things. So I think she's good in her role as well. So, I mean, I think she's great with the LWO. Like you said, she's not really doing a ton, but I think she fits the group well. I feel like she fits in, and even she was like Andrade's manager, she did good. I think she's very diverse. So I think given the right circumstance, I think she could fit right in.
Yeah, I think she could be a good fit if they booked it properly. And, she was with Andrade, yeah, they did work extremely well together. And I think her and Alistair, just being a married couple, I think would work even better together on TV than Charlotte likely, presumably would with Andrade, just in my opinion.